Hey everybody, Brittany Fowler here, author of The Inner Bully Beatdown, and I have been doing a ton of thinking lately, and I wanted to share with you a few things that I have been thinking about. First off, I want to say that I'm going to be running a deal on my book this coming week, but you will only be able to get to the link on tomorrow's live video hangout chat. Okay, so tonight I'm just gonna do a little prequel and just talk about things that have been going on, and heart me, like me, share me, everything will be great. And you see I got my party background going on because life with me is super fun. So a couple things. First of all, you'll notice in the title of this video, it is to forget your self-identity and come back and remember your essence. And gosh, I read that the other day in a book and it struck me like lightning. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so like inspiring and so powerful. And let me kind of tell you why. I've been trying to think of why would somebody want to read my book, right? I mean, I created it. I was inspired. I felt empowered to write it. In fact, I wrote it about a year ago this week, like is when I officially wrote it. And it's been so fun sharing it, being up on stage and traveling and selling it and all this other stuff. But it's always like come back to, why would anybody want to read my book? And quite honestly, this whole sentence of forget your self-identity and start to remember your essence is exactly why I wrote The Inner Bully Beatdown. And because growing up as a child, I struggled with self-identity. I struggled with knowing, not knowing who I was, but acting how I knew that I was. So let me give you an example. So just because Valentine's Day is coming up, let me tell you a story. So when I was younger, I was overweight, right? And everybody seemed to make fun of me. But being overweight, I was also strong and athletic, and I was quite coordinated for how large I was, right? So we would always go to the lunchroom and like, and those of you who are watching that went to Valley View Elementary, woo-hoo, right? Like we would always eat lunch, right? And then as soon as somebody that we played with on the playground, like for kickball or like 500, when you throw the football and you try and catch it, like as soon as that one person left that you knew was going to pick teams, you were done eating and you'd hurry and put your tray away or throw it into the place where they spray off all the trays, so you could head outside and be on a team. Because if you were late and they had already picked teams, you could not join a team ever. Like that was the unwritten recess rule. And so being me and being athletic and being out there, like that was the rule I lived by. I had to be out on time so I could be on a team. And so one day we were picking teams for kickball, and we had already picked teams. There was like 8 on one side, 8 on the other, so we had full teams. And this 6th grade girl came along, and she got so upset that she could not join our kickball team. And we're these 5th graders, right? We're like, why does a 6th grade girl want to play with us anyway? So she got mad and she stomped off and she wanted to talk to her boyfriend. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Just telling a story from my book and why we're getting back to the essence of you. Anyway, so we're playing kickball and I'm out in left field. And the 6th grade boy the boyfriend, right, he's lining up on the hill and he starts yelling, "Hey, Tubby, like you can't catch the ball." Or like somebody would kick the ball to me and I couldn't, like I missed it, and they would laugh at me and blah, blah, blah. And finally I had enough. It was probably about 5 minutes into it and I had enough. I'm like, my ego was going crazy and I was like, "Oh, don't say these things to me," right? And so what I did is I took off running after him. And you should have seen his eyes. They went from like, hey, I'm in charge, to like, oh crap, what did I just do? So you have this 6th grade boy like running across the playground and I'm chasing after him. you should have seen, oh, if I could have had a drone back then, I would have loved to go back in time and just video record this whole thing, because I am chasing after this dude. He's 6th grade and I'm 5th grade. And I get pretty close to him, actually. And he slips on the dirt, well, the mud at that time, because it was February. He slips on the mud, and I jump on top of him, and I start pounding his face in, right? Like, don't you ever call me that again. Rah, 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 rah. I can't even remember what I said. I was so angry. And finally, like, all of the kids were, like, watching, right? They were watching me. And I was like, oh, crap, what did I just do? So I got up, and he got up, and he started, like, walking towards me. And I was like, oh, no, like, he's actually going to hit me. But I think his ego was a little bruised, so he like walked off. Anyway, so I was so proud of myself that being in 5th grade, I beat up a 6th grade boy. And so I went home that day and I ran into my house and I said to my 4 sisters, I said, guess what happened? And they were like, oh, you kissed a boy. And I was like, no, I beat up a boy. Like, and I was so proud that I had beat up a boy. I was so proud that he was in 6th grade and I was in 5th grade, and that I was so tough, and that I had stood up for myself. But then I realized, oh, today was Valentine's Day. I beat him up on Valentine's Day. And something inside me just said, maybe I won't ever really have love on Valentine's Day. Maybe I'm just too tough and boys won't like me. There was this inner bully that came about, revolving around like boys and smoochies and like love and like who I was, who I identified with as a person. Like, I identified with that. And ever since then, like, I realized it as an adult, and it was a little small bully, like, oh, your Valentine's days are gonna suck, right? But I kept that tough attitude with me growing up. And it wasn't until a few years ago where I was challenged to write down something that made me see myself in a different light, right? Not my self-identity, but the essence of me. And it changed my life forever. And instead of carrying around this self-identity of I'm tough, I can do it all, right? I started carrying, I made this affirmation statement, which said, my tender heart is my greatest attribute. And when I made that affirmation and I said it again and again, I started to cry, like, so much. I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, like, all these years I have had this protective wall up, right? And how many times have I pushed people away, or not even intentionally pushed people away, like, because I didn't want them to see my tender heart, because I was afraid it was going to be broken or I'd have to protect it again. And that is my true essence. Like, my tender heart is my true essence. And again, the Inner Bully Beatdown book, which I'm going to be giving away a free audio tomorrow in my next Facebook Live, so be watching for it. Like, it teaches you how to get through these self-identities that we give ourselves, right? And actually helps us get back to our true essence. So I just wanted to share that little thought with you tonight. Again, I'm Brittany Fowler. If you've never met me, welcome to my world, my space, my party background. And have a fabulous night. And be sure to watch me tomorrow.